David! David, why are your hands shaking? Who is she?
No. She was supposed to be broke. She was supposed to be nothing.
Oh my God, that's the woman he threw out with nothing. Look at her now.
Wait, isn't that the ex-wife he laughed about? The homeless one?
No way, that's a Rolls Royce. Those are real diamonds. What happened to her?
Thank you, James. This won't take long. I came to collect something he owes me.
After divorce, my ex-husband invited me to his $1 million wedding, not because he wanted me there, but because he wanted to humiliate me in front of 300 guests, hoping I'd walk through those chapel doors broken, ashamed and crying at his feet. He told everyone I was nothing. He told his new bride I was a beggar living on the streets. He even saved an empty seat in the back of the chapel just so every single guest could watch me suffer on his wedding day. But what my ex-husband didn't know was that 14 days before his wedding, I had just inherited $9 billion from a man whose name he would never dare to speak out loud. So when the chapel doors swing open and I stepped out of a black Rolls Royce in an emerald gown worth more than his entire mansion, when the guests turned, when his new bride gasped, when our eyes finally met from the back of the chapel, my ex-husband dropped the ring. It hit the marble floor and rolled to my feet. The same man who divorced me with nothing, the same man who invited me to humiliate me, stood frozen at that altar, white as a ghost, because he finally realized the woman he threw away was now worth more than every guest in that room combined. But who left me $9 billion after the divorce? Why did my ex-husband really invite me to his wedding to humiliate me? And what did I whisper to him when I walked up that aisle and placed his fallen ring back in his trembling hand? Stay with me. Because what happened next inside that chapel destroyed his wedding, his marriage, and his empire in under 10 minutes. 3 years before that ring ever touched the marble floor, I sat in a freezing courtroom watching the man I loved sign me away like a receipt he wanted to throw in the trash. Marcus didn't even look at me when the judge asked if I had any final words. He just stared at his gold Rolex, like the minute hand mattered more than the 11 years I had given him. 11 years of waking up at 4 in the morning to pack his lunch. 11 years of skipping my own meals so he could finish business school. 11 years of believing him when he held my face in his hands. We make it together. We made it. Then he made me leave. You don't fit my future anymore, Amara. That was the last sentence he ever spoke to me as my husband. I walked out of that restaurant with one suitcase, $400 in my checking account, and the wedding ring he told me to keep as a souvenir, laughing as he said it. I sold that ring the next morning to pay for a motel room. For 3 long years after that, Marcus made sure every wealthy person in our city heard his version of my story. At galas, at golf clubs, at charity dinners, he told the same lie with the same charming smile. My ex? Oh, last I heard she's living in a shelter. Some women just aren't built for success. And every time someone pointed at me in the grocery store, every time my name became a punchline in his shiny new world, a quiet piece of me died. But I never cried in public. Not once. Because my grandmother used to whisper in my ear when I was a girl, Amara, baby, God does not waste pain. I didn't understand what she meant. Not until the morning of October 3rd. It was a Tuesday. I remember because the rain had finally stopped after 7 straight days, and the sun was warming my tiny 1-bedroom apartment for the first time in a week. I was eating instant noodles and staring at a pile of late bills when there was a soft, careful knock at my door. I peeked through the peephole. A black Bentley was parked outside my building. A tall man in a charcoal suit stood at my door, holding a leather folder against his chest. He asked when I cracked the door open. My name is Mr. Whitfield. I am the executor of the estate of Mr. Augustus Okafor, your great-uncle. I'm afraid he passed away last Friday. I had never met an Uncle Augustus. I'd never even heard the name spoken in my family. But Mr. Whitfield stepped into my tiny apartment, sat at my wobbly plastic kitchen table, opened that leather folder. The number written on it stopped my heart inside my chest. $9 billion. And at the bottom of that page, in trembling handwriting from a man I had never met in my life, were 11 words I will carry with me until the day I die. Amara, I have been watching you for 23 years. The world failed you, I will not. I dropped my noodles. I dropped my phone. I dropped the broken version of myself that had been crying quietly for 3 years. Then Miss Whitfield looked up at me with the softest eyes I'd ever seen. Miss Okafor, your great-uncle left specific instructions. Whatever you decide to do with this fortune, you have exactly 14 days to decide who you become. That was the morning the cream-colored envelope slid under my door. The wedding invitation from Marcus. He thought he was inviting a homeless ex-wife to her final humiliation.
He had no idea. He was inviting the richest woman in the country to his execution.